Okay, for this week's prompt, we're discussing a paragraph that we wrote that we feel had significance or a surprising outcome. I wrote a short story that was kind of based in partial truth or based on a actual story and partially something that I was able to fabricate on. And the story included a section of when the character in my short story has to run out of the house, and the paragraph describes the being that she sees in the back of the room as she's running out of the house. And I guess the message I was trying to convey is that even the most simple, minute details of something can be absolutely terrifying. So in the paragraph that I described this creature, it's nothing but a shadow that, you can't even really make out what the form of it is, but it's the movement of shuffling from side to side in a fast-paced motion towards my main character that really elicited this almost this visceral response. And this was like years ago, probably the first time I ever entered college, way back in like 2007. And I remember somebody stating that reading that paragraph reminded them of why E.T. was so terrifying at the beginning, and it was because of how he shuffled back and forth. And I don't know if that's where that idea spawned from in my head. I wasn't thinking about E.T. when I was writing that, but it was surprising how many people were able to correlate back to either a memory or how they saw it in their mind's eye. And the other interesting thing is a lot of people saw it completely differently. They didn't think about E.T. They thought about a shadow they saw when they were kids or another scary movie. And I think writing is critical to write in a very descriptive way, but even when you do, sometimes your message can be read and interpreted completely differently by your entire audience. Let's see here. I'm kind of answering these in some ways. So my intended audience was my class. My teacher loved my short story so much that he made me read it out loud to the class with the lights off just to scare everybody. And I thought that was really cool because he only asked a couple students to do that. And I think what was most impactful for me out of this experience was that it wasn't like this big, huge, fabricated, like super detailed thing. I was paying attention to the very small, simple details of how to make my story scary. And instead of like going on and on about a backstory or on and on about how the creature looked, I just had to tap into the simple fears that people already had placed there. And it's just about like opening up those doors in people's minds, and they basically scare themselves. But I kind of like was writing about that experience in one of my other classes, and I'm a huge horror fanatic. I love horror movies. I love horror stories. So that was a paragraph that showed me and impacted me that writing can be very effective if kept simple. And I think that answers a bunch of these prompts. What I learned from this experience, and that I'm going to always apply to all of my future writing, is that you got to keep it simple. Keep it down to the basics. Make sure your grammar is right, but don't overdo it with flowery language if it's not necessary, because typically it's the simple things that get the message across the best.